Yeah, there's two different.
All right, I call to order the March edition, 2024 of Planning and Zoning Commission. Time was what, 6:35, I think? 6:37. Good indeed. So everybody have the old minutes? We need to review that?
Did I give you all the minutes?
I don't think so.
I swear I thought I did. Did I? Did I hand that?
Yeah, 15. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, February?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, here it is. I'm sorry.
It's a lot of
It was
stuff.
under, yeah.
Sorry about that. I try to put it in order as it's on the agenda.
Yeah.
But sometimes
Well,
I
I've done messed all that up anyway. But all right.
In the minutes I've got typed that we're going to, there's one in Erlanger on April 18th, but we're going to the one in Maysville on May 9th. For that HB 55.
Okay, yeah, that one. I was thinking it was, okay. All right, let's have,
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from last month.
all right.
I'll second
Do we need to note the date change for May?
No.
No, okay.
No, there's not a form of a motion, it's just.
Okay, all in favor?
it.
Aye. Yes. You signed yours or no? Just sign one and pass that pen around.
Oh, this one.
Yeah. Let's see. While we're signing papers, I'll open the floor to public comment. If anybody's got anything. No public comment at this time?
We're just here to watch you guys work.
Yeah. I got to watch you guys for a little bit. Thought I was gonna have to referee there for a minute.
We are lively.
Grab mine full size and put copies of those. Real quick. You don't have to wait on me, I'll be right back.
All right. I just finished that one. All right, moving on. Preliminary plat review, 179 West College Avenue.
So this isn't a formal submittal yet, but I've been talking with the surveyor, and they're going to submit. At first, I thought it was going to be a minor plat because they were changing the size of one parcel, but when I got to looking at it with him a few years ago, they changed another lot line and didn't go through the city for any approval, and then now they're changing different parcels. So really, it ends up affecting 1, 2, 3, 4, and by definition, it can't be a minor plat. So it'll be a full subdivision plat to basically to kind of legalize that earlier change to the south. So, and then to approve the new changes. So this is So this line down here, they changed, I forget what year he said, but it was 5 or 10 years ago. So we're gonna legalize that, and then currently, I think the part, oh yeah, it shows the line here. So this parcel is currently like this, and what they're doing is gonna split it and then take this piece out and add it there. Does that kind of make sense? The Kroger parcel really won't change other than a little bit right here, and this one will, this other big parcel, like the big open area by the creek, it'll kind of give a little bit to where the RVs.
So this is behind,
Kroger's here, the gas station's here, and then this is like where Joey's and Dee's
oh, okay.
barber,
Alright.
that's all up here. And then this is the big empty lot, that's Hearst
Okay.
and Stanton Road.
Okay.
And the Judy Creek runs basically through there.
So are they wanting to do something in the future here, or is that why they're changing it?
From what I understand, I think this is gonna go to D, and that might go to one of Roland's other daughters, but don't quote me on that. He was kind of telling me, well, and the surveyor didn't know exactly what the intent was, but he was kind of explaining why they were reconfiguring it, so. I don't know if they're just kind of cleaning it up, or they're divvying up, or exactly what the purpose behind it is, but they're basically taking what they've got and making it into a little bit different configuration. So one thing that'll come out of this is right now, this piece is zone B3 and everything around it's B2. So I told him, and I'll have to talk to the owners, the applicants, not the surveyor, but this will end up having a split zoning, so they'll probably need to, depending on what they want to do, maybe rezone this to match, so it's all one zoning.
That's where all the campers and
Yeah.
stuff are then.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't really see any issues with it. It's not really changing it. He didn't indicate that they were going to build anything, or which I mean, they still could, but at this point, they're just kind of reconfiguring the lots. So, yeah. I don't have a whole lot of information. Like I said, it wasn't a formal submittal, and we're not actually at the point where we review it, but I wanted to let you all know and kind of give you an idea. That way you kind of, when they do, because this will be a full subdivision plat, so we'll do a preliminary plat, which is basically what he's done here. He had to make a change, and I can't remember exactly what it was. And then we'll review that and approve that, and once the preliminary is approved, then they'll do the full subdivision plat. And we'll have to do, I think we do it with, I have to go back and look at the procedure, but we end up doing like a public hearing basically to approve it.
Okay.
So this won't be, it won't be me approving it administratively like we've done in some of the minor plats.
So we don't have to approve any of this?
Not tonight. I really just kind of wanted to show it to you, like to see what's going on. We'll obviously have more discussion on it later. But if you had any questions, if you all have any questions about it, or anything for me to take back to them, that's kind of more the idea behind it. Just that's basically all I've got on that right now.
Anybody have any questions about it then? That we needed? All right. How about you? Get to that point, let us know when we can step in.
It sounds like maybe next month.
Carry on.
All right. All right, moving right along, administrative review request 38 Court Street.
So this is actually, what this is going to be is 38 and 48 Court Street. It's a lot line adjustment between the two. It's actually Miss Jones.
I'm on 38. My neighbor is Mr. Stone, yes.
So Rodney's been working on this. Okay, so I'll give you the real quick and dirty on this. So Ruth needs to fix her problem that her shed was over the property boundary. So that's kind of what got this part of it going, the lot line adjustment. Howard Stone owns this property, and there's a trailer currently on it, and he wants to redevelop it as residential. In the past, I think it was 2016, it was prior, you didn't own it in 2016. It was,
no.
That's okay. So prior to either one of them owning it, it was rezoned to B2. Which in Ruth's case, it becomes non-conforming. So she can continue to use it as a residential property indefinitely. She can't expand it, so she couldn't add on to the house or anything like that. Which would, that affects both properties. They're both currently used as residential. Howard's, he wants to take the mobile home that's on it off of it and build a house. So then his gets really complicated because it's zoned commercial, but he wants to keep using the residential, but by changing it from a mobile home to a house, he's expanding the use, so technically he can do that. So I figured out, by talking to another planning director somewhere else, that what they've done in the past is we can do what's called a reversion. So you can, basically you go through the same process you go through to do a zone change, but so you have a public hearing, you post a notice, you notify the property owners around them, and basically what you're saying is that you're going to revert it back to its original zone. So it would go from the B,
I think it was B2.
I think it's B2.
Yeah.
It'll go from the B2 back to the R1 that it originally was when we adopted zoning. That fixes Howard's problem because then all he has to do is when he gets a permit for the house, he just has to meet the requirements. He'll probably have to have a variance for the setbacks, but then he can move forward. It also helps Ruth in the fact that it'll go back to
Original.
residential, and then she can do improvements to the home and all that. So everything around it's residential. So it just kind of makes sense, to do that. It was rezoned commercial, I'm sure, with the hopes of being able to sell it as a commercial property and market it that way, and it just never really happened. So.
May I make one statement?
Yes.
Yes, where this problem all started was the house that I purchased almost 2 years ago now. As it turned out, the deed was incorrect with what the land footage was. It was just absolutely wrong. It changed, and it affected not only me, but Howard. And Howard and I have been working together to try to get this figured out. That will help both of us, So that's kind of what we've come up with, and we'll get a new survey on it this coming week sometime, and Howard will be required to sign, and I'll be required to sign it also.
It should look like that, but on the formatted plat document.
Mhm.
So that's what they agreed on yesterday.
And,
Yes.
and you're gonna adjust the lot line so you don't have to move your building and stuff? is that-
Absolutely,
yeah,
yes.
that's-
He's giving that to me. Originally, my lot, I put the building about 1.5 feet away from the little bitty fence that was there, so I could make sure we could weed eat around it, so we didn't have a bunch of weeds growing up, building it and looking sloppy. And come to find out, that wasn't where the line was,
Mhm.
after the fact. So it was not that I was trying to get on somebody else's property, it was just not correct on the deed.
The other thing that I kind of caught at the last minute that we've got worked out with Rodney and between the two of them is where Howard wants to go back to residential, neither lot meets the minimum lot size for R1. And in fact, can't meet the minimum lot size for R2 or R3. So you couldn't rezone either of the properties to residential because you can't change the zone to something where it doesn't meet the requirements. So the only way this works is if we revert it to the original. It's kind of the same thing, but you're just calling it a different thing. But then that reinstates it, or that maintains its lot, what's called lot of record, which is basically a non-conforming lot size. Because the lot, it was platted in.
Yes,
who
my
knows?
lot should have remained the same size as it was from 1919 on until it was bought and changed, and it's been a blooming mess.
Mm.
So anyway, I think we've just about got it straightened out. Howard and I are happy with it,
So
so.
we've worked out all the kinks, and we think procedurally we'll be able to clean it all up and fix both the properties, and then they'll both kind of be able to get what they want out of the process. But the request that I gave to you all, and this was actually before we realized a lot of those issues and before
Yes.
Howard got involved with the zoning issue, was for me to review the minor plat administratively like I've done in the past. And that's I told you all early on, I'll always leave that up to you, whether you want to review it as a board or whether you want to let me review it administratively. Only for the minor plats.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Let's Sounds like common sense to me. Do I hear a motion to accept?
I make a motion to give Chris administrative, authority to review this iron plat.
I second.
Make it known. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks.
Be it so.
That's yours.
Did you do all them drawings, Chris?
No, no. That's, Randy Stewart, he's a surveyor, and the other was Rodney Hall.
All right, next is the administrative review request, 230 Maple Street.
And this one,
Jacob Brandenburg.
I don't have a document for this. Jacob Brandenburg came in. He has purchased the property at the corner of Breckenridge and Maple Street where the house burned down a few years ago. It's kind of like Church Street turns into Breckenridge, and it's that
Okay.
vacant lot right there.
Right.
And he wants to take the one parcel, divide it into two, and build two houses there. The only issue with it is that it's zoned R1, and you have to have 10,000 square feet as minimum lot size, and it's like 20,050. Like, it's really close on being able to split right down the middle. So I told him, you're gonna have your surveyor be exactly on and make sure that each of them are exactly 10,000, at least 10,000 square feet. So that's the only hiccup on that, I think. I'll do the parcel review on, like, I'll look up the deeds and all that, make sure that everything's good. But he hasn't gotten a surveyor yet. He just bought it and came in wanting to know what he needed to do. So I was just gonna ask about, now, if he brings it in and there's something real weird, or if I find something really weird, I won't do it administratively, I'll bring it to the board. But that's kind of the same thing, if you all are okay with me reviewing it, barring any.
So now we don't do anything on that tonight, do we?
Well-
Do we have to approve it?
Well, I'm just requesting that you allow me to
Yeah.
review
Oh,
it
okay.
approve it
I'll make-
administratively.
I make a motion to allow you to do that.
Motion's made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
And like I said on that, if I come into any problems, I'll put it on the agenda for the video meeting.
All right.
All right, I didn't, this go around, I didn't give you all copies of the goals and objectives again, but I've got them if you need them. Do you have, from last month, do you still have?
Should.
I don't have it with me.
Okay. So the update committee, we've been going through the comprehensive plan. And 2 months ago, we finalized our goals and objectives and recommended to planning commission, or recommended our approval to planning commission for you all to act on. The goals and objectives are kind of the basis for the rest of the comprehensive plan. Once these are approved, then the next step would be us referring the comprehensive plan to you all for approval as well. If you all want to discuss them, or trying to think if there was anything that stood out. Some of this, I tried to update what was in the old goals and objectives a little bit before I took it to the update committee, and then we've tried to add in some things. We've had a lot of discussion about different things in the city, and we looked at the old comprehensive plan from 1976 and compared it to the newer one, and you know, the things that had changed and hadn't changed, and then we looked at things that hadn't been addressed in the past that we thought we needed to include in there. So we tried to do that. I think we all kind of feel like we're happy with the document at this point, but this is kind of the first step before we give you all the full document.
Have you figured out how you're gonna get the GIS map completed? I know that's a headache, but.
Not exactly, but I've got some ideas.
Okay.
The Bluegrass ad is a good resource for mapping, and I can do a lot of the background work and then have them make it look pretty. The looking pretty part's the harder part for me. But I can provide them the data, and so that's an option we have. And then some of the stuff like this, I don't have a stormwater map. I kind of started doing that, and that's going to take a lot of work to do it. I'm still going to try to maybe get an intern or two to try to work on that, but I don't know when that's going to happen exactly. It kind of fell through in the fall, so I've got to follow up, try to see if I can get somebody from either Houston or Moorhead or somewhere close that could come and do that. So maybe even high school students, I don't know.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Is there anything like majorly different that you can think of? Or?
Well, I mean, compared to the last comprehensive plan from the goals and objectives in the last comprehensive plan to these goals and objectives, they're not copy paste. I mean, we kind of, a lot of the same ideas are there, but we tried to update it. I don't know, like, I can't remember exactly what's different, but, you know, we added in, like, we talked about things like a downtown business district. Like, we don't really have a central business district that's obvious. Like, when you drive through Stanton, you don't know exactly where the middle of town is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, years ago, you could have said it was a stoplight, but now you can't say that because there's too many. There used to be just the one. So that was one thing that we really looked at, was that kind of thing where we want to look at doing some more, maybe some architectural standards, maybe some regulations that kind of direct how the city looks versus just the use. And that this one goal on the first page where it says build and retain small town character, that kind of comes out of those discussions. Preserve historic structures in the city, that kind of comes out of that. Then, I don't know, we talked a lot about when zoning was adopted in '92, basically all the residential was blanket zoned R1, which is low density. And that wasn't even really appropriate in '92, because if you look at this part of town, exactly like we were talking about with Ruth's property could never have been R1. It could only, it's high density based on the lot size. The houses in the early 1900s were smaller houses. The lots were 25 foot wide by 100 foot long lots.
Actually, 50 is when they changed. They started out at 25 and then they went to 50 wide.
Right. And so, if you look at this stretch down between Washington and Breckenridge, most of those houses are smaller, most of those lots are smaller. So, I mean, that part of town really should have been zoned at the time in the 90s, should have been zoned R2 or R3. But for whatever reason, the decision was made to make all the residential R1. So we talked a lot about that, where when we do our future land use map, and this is kind of reflected in the goals and objectives, and it'll be a little bit more apparent on the map, I think, when we do that, is to identify more medium and high density residential areas and not focus as much on the low density, which basically low density is single family homes. So, for all through the 80s and 90s, the idea was everybody wanted a 3 or 4 bedroom ranch style house. It's 2,000 square foot on a half acre lot. I mean, that's not exactly true, but you kind of, that's all the housing stock was kind of being built that way, or bigger. And what has happened in the last few years is there's been a shift where people don't want as big homes, they don't want as big yards, especially when you think about people aging in place. And like, it's one thing when you're in your 30s and 40s to have a half acre yard to mow or to pay somebody to mow, but then when you get older and can't do it yourself, then you don't really want that big yard to mow, or you don't want that big house to take care of. Smaller houses are cheaper to heat and cool, much easier to take care of, lower in cost to buy, and so we need a better mix. I think the whole point that we were trying to get across, not necessarily even to shift totally away from low density, but that we want a better mix of housing types, and we do that through planning with our goals and objectives and our future land use map by identifying certain areas that would be more appropriate for low, medium, and higher density residential. And really, it's not saying, okay, this neighborhood that's low density, we're going to change and make it high density. What we're going to do is we'll look at the lot sizes in the neighborhoods and say, okay, if somebody's gonna come in and develop this lot, what would make sense? Are they gonna do it as low density, medium density, or high density? And then on our future land use map, say, okay, well, these are small lots, so let's call it high density. And these are a little bit bigger lots, let's call them medium density. And so that was part of what we did through the golden objectives and some of our other sections where we talked about housing and the needs in the city. We added in, create more walkable and bikeable spaces. Originally when zoning came in and as the city kind of grew after the 60s and 70s, it was all auto-centric. So, everything was big parking lots, no sidewalks, and so we want to put a little bit more focus on pedestrian connectivity and a little bit less focus on all about the car. Not that, obviously everybody still gets around with a car, but, we need to provide, we know that people walk around town and they don't have good places to walk, so we need to address those problems.
Yeah.
So
A lot of people walks
Yeah.
on College Avenue
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
got paths made on both sides of the street.
Right.
Right down here on our Court Street right here, there's a lot of people that walk
Yeah.
around the blocks, come back around.
So some of the things we've talked about tonight, we looked at the last chapter of the comp plan tonight, and this is not the goals and objectives I'm talking about right now, but the last chapter is the implementation strategies. And so we've talked about things like having a citywide transportation plan, a citywide parks and rec plan, a capital improvements plan, to be able to identify projects, prioritize projects, and be able to slowly work our way through a lot of the problems that we've had since the 70s that we've never really addressed as a city, and be able to start kind of making some progress toward better pedestrian connectivity, better mix of housing, things like that. So I hope, I haven't really gone back and looked at the goals and objectives since we got done with the implementation strategies, but I kind of hope that they follow through.
They're coming together.
Yeah.
So having the different density, high, medium, and low would make it so if somebody, so how would that affect somebody that has a 25 or 50 foot lot that still wants to build a?
Well, I think a little bit of it would be a little bit of education and encouragement. So if somebody comes in, because I think what's happening, okay, so perfect example. So when Jacob Brandenburg, right before he came in and talked to me about that he bought this property over here, I ran into him somewhere and he was asking me something else was going on, and I said something about rezoning to R2, R3, lower density, smaller lot sizes. And he said, you can build a house on a lot that's not 10,000 square feet. And I said, well, yeah, but you might have to rezone it to an R2 or an R3 to be able to do that. And he said, I didn't know that. He said, I thought you had to have 10,000 square feet to build a house, full stop. And he said, so I would look at properties that were less than 10,000 square feet. He said, that I thought about maybe building a house on, but then when I realized they weren't big enough, I passed on it. And I said, no. I said, you probably could have bought that property, rezoned it to depending on what the lot size was, and built a house on it. You might have to build a smaller house. But so light bulb moment for him. Well, that made me realize he's probably not the only person out there that thinks that.
Right.
So I think partly by updating this and getting the map out, the future land use map, once we get to that point, get all that out there, it's a way for us to start letting people know, hey, there are properties out here that maybe you thought you couldn't develop, that you could. The other part of that, like for me, is as I realize this as we're going through all this, that if somebody comes in and asks me a question, that's probably the first thing I should look at is what's the lot sizes and what would be the most appropriate zone district, to be able to direct them and say, okay, you can't have a low density house on this property, but here's what you could have, and give them the options.
Right.
So I think we're developing a better tool is what we're doing with this through this update, and hopefully it'll help everybody. It'll help me in my job, but it'll help people coming in wanting to develop properties. It'll help people with their own properties knowing what to do with them, so, or what they can do.
So what is our process for this?
Well,
Tonight.
what we were hoping with the update committee is we were recommending that you all look at it and approve it if you're happy with it, with the goals and objectives.
So we need to approve it tonight, if we.
If you feel like you should.
I thought it was good myself, so I make a motion that we adopt it.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
And then the second, actually, I guess the right action would be that if you're happy with it and you all adopt it, that you would recommend to the planning commission or city council to adopt the goals and objectives, the updated goals and objectives.
So do
But
we
they
need-
don't have that yet.
Yeah, they've got the goals and objectives.
Yeah,
We gave it
they
to them
have
last month.
Oh,
But
okay.
just the
Yeah.
goals and objectives, not the
Gotcha.
full document.
Gotcha, okay.
You'll get the full document next
Next month.
Next month.
Okay.
So we need to make a motion
To
to get,
To recommend approval to city,
I make a
recommend
motion.
city council to approve.
I recommend motion to.
Sorry,
For the city council to
yeah,
To
review,
send it.
to adopt it.
adopt it.
Sorry, Kevin.
All right.
He's all right.
I think Kevin knows how to
Kevin-
translate everything.
Kevin.
He's the man right there.
He is indeed.
Did anybody second it?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Thank you all. We've kicked this around for months now.
We actually worked too hard, and maybe those little discussions like that get us to where we need to be and where we need to go and what we need to look at.
Yeah.
You
You're going to
know,
take that to the city council?
Yeah.
So are you two ladies
I'll present
on
this.
this?
We're-
Yes,
yes, yes,
yes. And we started
All
working
right,
on
so-
the comprehensive plan, I think, in September.
Next
I think
is.
it was.
Yeah.
I gave you all a copy of the monthly report, and if you all have questions, or any, trying to think if there's anything,
We should five new business licenses. You
um,
know, we're out of town.
off the top of my head, I don't know. One was, there's an ice cream, we have an ice cream truck now.
Okay.
You got a business license.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he comes in the neighborhood.
Um,
I got in big trouble for not going out.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Down by the unit next to China Walk is a tattoo parlor.
Oh, really?
He hasn't opened yet, he's
Yeah.
trying to get his state approval on it.
Okay.
I don't remember other than that, I remember those two.
I wondered why he wasn't
Where's
over
he
there.
at where,
Right next door to China Walk.
Yeah, I don't know if he's in both or just one or the other.
That's
where
Center
Watson, they used to have her. hand-
Chain lids?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He worked with somebody else in Mount Sterling, but I think he's from Clay City maybe. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I've not met him yet, but I had to
Any
go
code
in.
violations?
One was on White Avenue, I got a complaint about, they were burning stuff and there's some inoperable vehicles and some stuff piled up. I haven't got a response from them, so I can't follow up with them. And with the other ones.
Got some inoperable vehicles on the corner of Lisa Lane and East Union.
Yeah, you're talking about the one right on the, like the first corner? Yeah.
They got cones.
Oh, he died. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah. There's another one on Eastview that's an S2 that more stuff started to accumulate on the front porch, so we have to address that too. I don't remember the other one off the top of my head, but I can tell you. after.
That's all right.
What has been happening with that piece of land up there in front of Hearst Furniture?
In front of hers.
Where that,
Where Billy was gonna build it.
I haven't heard anything.
when the piece give up on that, on the rest?
I don't think he's give up, but, I think it's still a lot sizing, issue. Because the lot that he thought he bought is not what he bought.
Doesn't exist. I know about that,
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunately.
So according to the size and everything, his pins are out in the middle of the road.
I'll tell you what, being from here, you know where that old high school was, I can understand it. The high school was out in the road.
Yeah, it really was.
You know, I mean, that He bought a lot, because that's where the school was at. It was in the rock.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Wow.
I mean, you walked out of the gymnasium, and you was in the street.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
No sidewalk.
No, there was nothing.
The streets come out the one door.
This doesn't reflect, and I actually do a more detailed, like, day-to-day,
Goodness, goodness.
if you ever want to know more. One thing I'll bring up is the tree. There was a sycamore tree fell in Judy Creek right by Chevy Chic, and they got a hold of the mayor, and the mayor talked to me about it. And we pretty quick in, I don't know, a couple days got a floodplain permit. Arthur looked at that. We figured out what we needed to do. Got a contractor and got it taken care of. It cost a little bit of money, but the sycamore, it was pretty good size. I mean, it was three.
It jammed the whole creek up.
And it fell right down the creek, or the creek.
Huh.
And,
Was the wood in, or was it all?
so we got Mark Hawkins to come in, and he and CV got in, they pulled it out, cut it up, they cleaned the stream bed out a little bit, so the water
You
didn't
don't
flow.
have
We got
two
it
little
taken care
trees
of.
in there.
So, you know, it was one of those things where we were, that one Monday, I spent all day on that one thing, but we got it taken care of, and, you know, we've kind of figured out if we have an emergency like that we've got a way to kind of work through it, so. And we're still waiting to hear back from Army Corps of Engineers about funding to do the whole stream from, we're thinking probably from the Parkway to Maple Street. But we haven't heard back from them on the funding yet, so.
What about the two houses that's being built behind Save-A-Lot there, that they're not doing
Well, they would
anything?
fund.
I asked him a while back what was going on, and I don't remember exactly what he told me, but there was something with funding or something with, I couldn't get something. I can't remember. I think it was a financing thing. Not that he didn't have the money, but there was some hang up. I don't remember.
I just didn't know if it was
Yeah, I think it'll move forward.
some of this
What,
stuff.
what is he making out of those? Just
Just houses. 2 single-family homes, yeah.
saying
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was asked to ask you something too.
Okay.
You may not even be in charge or if you find out about it. I had a lady ask me if, bring it up about putting some speed bumps down from the nursing home. She said that they are flying down through there.
On Derrickson Lane?
Yeah.
I can bring it up.
I mean, you might want to talk to the mayor, but she asked me if I knew anybody. I said, well, I don't, you know.
That's probably more city council, mayor's call, but I mean, I can mention it to him and we can look into it.
But she said you could, now she'd have the police go up her and say it. She said, I mean, they are flying.
Huh.
An elderly person or somebody backing up was going to get hit up.
Yeah.
Like when they come off of the College Avenue and turn,
I guess, or either coming up.
coming this way?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could get some speed going coming that way.
All right.
I'll talk to him when it's bad. But yeah, it's probably more of a city council. And I don't know if they have to do an ordinance on something like that. I don't know how they go with that. Or they just have to decide to do it.
And I'm sure you'll have, if I lived up there, I wouldn't want to speak up
Right.
myself. I mean, that's just the way it is, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe it should be a police,
Yeah, an enforcement thing.
yeah, a little, you know, kind of keep an eye on it.
Well, I know they put out the speed limit, shoot, what do they call them?
Oh, yeah, the radar box.
Yeah, they put those out in different places, but again, you can put those out, but once people figure out nobody's doing anything, they just ignore it. So you kind of got to put them out and enforce at the same time. Which I think they've had some success with that in different places. But like they put the one on Stipple, and the funny thing about that was I was driving down through there one day and I'm like, you'd have to be going really, really fast to exceed the speed limit on Stipple. Because like I don't feel like driving real fast down there. You know, like if you're going real fast, it's like you're gonna hit something. It's too narrow. I guess people were. I don't know. So I that's all I had, unless somebody has questions about the report.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll say.
Go ahead, Randy.
Now,